listening to the Cricket Podcast.
I think it was a disgraceful performance, and I think it should never be permitted to happen again.
That is very good.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about England's World Cup T20 squad. They've announced it. It's 15 men. There's 3 reserves. It's exciting. The World Cup build-up has officially begun from our point of view. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg to discuss this. How are you doing, Ross Legg?
Yeah, all right, mate. Am I pleasantly surprised at this England team? I'm excited. I think I agree with you. The excitement for the World Cup is growing.
The excitement for the World Cup sure is growing. Before we get into it all, though, Ross, we do have some messages for our listeners, for our viewers. You want to let them know what they are?
Yes, you should follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You should like this video. You should subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you need cricket equipment, go to Woodstock. Use code TCP25 and you get 25% off.
That's all good. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/the Cricket Pod for priority access to questions and extra stuff. That's all good too. Ross, do you want to read through? I don't know if you've got it in front of you. Do you want to read through the preliminary ICC Men's T20 World Cup squad for England so that people know what we're talking about here?
Yes, so obviously we are led by the man, the myth, the legend that is Owen Morgan. And we'll come on to his captaincy in a little while. Moeen Ali, Johnny Bairstow, Sam Billings, Joss Buttler, Sam Curran, Chris Jordan, Liam Livingstone, the inform man in the universe right now, Dawid Malan, Tamal Mills, Adil Rashid, Jason Roy, David Willey, Chris Woakes, and Mark Wood, with everyone's favourite Tom Curran, Liam Dawson, and James Vince as part of the travelling reserves. So it's quite a pace-heavy side, Jack.
Yeah, it is reasonably pace heavy, isn't it? I mean, looking through that, there's a lot of names that we sort of knew would be on the list. There's obviously the core team. Then there's Livingstone, who has basically battered his way into the discussion through the course of the 100, and also his performances against India earlier in the year. And then there are, I think, a couple of probably slightly surprising picks there. So David Willey has managed to secure himself a place in the big boy squad. I guess, maybe Woakes is not unexpected, but slightly, hasn't necessarily been in favour the whole time for England in recent times. And then, as you say, we've got no Parkinson. Liam Dawson's in the reserve squad. So they do look a little bit short on the spin. What would you say your general reaction is on that point? Because I think, when looking at the questions we got, we have one from Knuckle, who's been on the show before, specifically here, who was basically asking, having them made the right call going for seam over spin.
So when it comes to the UAE, the assumption is that the pitches will turn and that spinners will do better than pacers. That's probably a fair assumption based upon
probably fair. It's a desert, isn't it?
Yeah. So I had to look at the numbers at the last IPL because the last IPL 2020 was played in the UAE. And just took the top 26 because top 25, 26th was the same amount of wickets. And the top 26 was made up of 18 pace bowlers and 8 spin bowlers. And the wickets for pace were 285 and the wickets for spin were kind of 118. And like that, to me, there is a bit there where I'm not sure going out and playing 5 spinners is kind of the best tack. I think you do need to have a good pace battery. But I also think that there's not much resilience in that side. Like if Adil Rashid goes down, who has got a history of a shoulder injury, and a shoulder is a pretty important bit of being a leg spinner and being a bowler in general, I don't think Liam Dawson is the answer to backing him up. I think they could have even taken Jake Lintott. They could have taken him or Matt Parkinson, or take both of them. There's no reason why they both couldn't be on the plane, I don't think.
What, just as travelling reserves, you mean?
Yeah, so when we went to Sri Lanka, we took every man and his dog as part of like a spin camp, didn't we? Like there was loads of them there. There's absolutely loads of them there.
I think they have missed a bit of a trick. to be honest. I think so. England have talked, or England analysts have talked pretty publicly about how they think Mark Wood is, or they call him the middle overs enforcer. To counter the narrative that you control the middle overs with spin, what England try and do is that they bring Mark Wood on to keep the pressure on the batters, take more wickets, and effectively bounce out the other team, like some kind of short form body line exponent. I think they've missed a little bit of a trick there, to be honest. And I if I were them, I would have picked more spinners and I would have picked less seamers. I don't really know why they need David Willey in the front 15, for example, if they've already got Sam Curran, who frankly offers more with the bat and probably about the same with the ball. I think the reason they've done it is as you say, because they think that there's a better chance that pace bowlers will take wickets. And traditionally in T20 cricket, that is the case. Pace bowlers take more wickets. The downside, though, is that they concede a lot more runs. We're talking, if this will never happen, but in a world where one team bowled every over with spin and one team bowled every over with pace, you'd probably expect somewhere between 10 and 20 runs difference in the number of runs the pace bowlers conceded above what the spinners managed. And so I do think what they've done here is they've left themselves short of control. Now they do have Liam Livingstone, who might be able to do that. They've got Moeen Ali. But I think in both those cases, they're more matchup busters than they are 4 over guaranteed bowlers. And I think that could potentially come back to bite them. There's a broader question here, like around how you pick squads as well, isn't there? I mean, I don't know, you probably saw the Cricketing View tweet, didn't you? You shared it with me. I'm teeing this up for you.
Yeah, I just don't understand what the angle is. It infuriates me every time he tweets.
You need to explain what the tweet is first.
I can't even remember the tweet. I was so annoyed.
What he said is it doesn't matter which team the individual squads pick, because there's so much luck involved in T20 cricket that you basically it's going to come down. It's going to be a fluke whoever wins anyway.
Yeah, so it's all luck based, isn't it? Every IPL champion team is luck based. Every T20 win is luck based.
Obviously, it's complete nonsense, but there's a kernel of truth in it, and that kernel of truth, basically you can sort of summarize it. There's another tweet that was shared this time by Dan Weston, and it's a really good analogy. It's picking a team for a T20 World Cup or a T20 competition is a little bit like choosing your own poker hand. Now, if you played a game of Texas Hold'em, obviously you get your 2 starting cards, and then things can change wildly on the flop, the turn, and the river. But if you got to pick the best cards, so 2 aces to start with, you'd be putting yourself in the best possible position to eventually win, and you'd expect over time that you would make quite a healthy profit if you were picking which cards you were gonna play with. That's a much better analogy, and I think looking at this, because they're a spinner light, there's probably there's still lingering questions about Alex Hales, aren't there? I don't know if England have picked necessarily 2 aces. I think they probably picked 2 kings or two queens. It's still a really, really good squad. I just think that maybe it could have been constructed slightly better. That's my point of view, and that there's a very long way of going back to that spin question.
I do think there's a bit as well, I think, around how you set up to bat, right? England's approach to shorter format has been to just obliterate everything that comes in their way. Like, it doesn't matter how many runs that the other team will put up, England will try and do their best to chase it down. In this lineup, like, there isn't loads of guys who I'm sitting there going, these guys are absolutely brilliant against spin bowling. And that's the worry for me, that if loads of other teams come out with like even India, right? India have picked five spinners. If they are bowling 16 overs of spin, which probably won't happen, it's probably 12 to 16 overs of spin, do England have the ability to actually play against it appropriately? I think we've seen in the past when Owen Morgan has struggled. We've seen in the past where even Joss Butler struggled. But someone like Dawid Malan, who is penciled in to go at 3 because they're refusing to play Moeen Ali in that kind of role, or pump Johnny Bairstow up, it's questions for me that I'm a little bit worried about.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of points in there, and I think spin's an area where they might be weak. But on the other hand, they do have players like Moeen Ali, who is an absolute boss when it comes to spin. Again, and you go back to that poker hand analogy, though. going into the first game, do England pick their ace against spin, Mo and Ali, or do they not do that? I think that's what I'm worried about here. I mean, I'd like there to be another spinner, and there isn't, and I would like there to be. I would like to have more confidence that the selectors, the coach and the captain, will actually pick England's best team. I've just brought up while we were chatting, I've just brought up Liam Livingstone's record against different types of bowling as well. He's another one who, in theory here, absolutely can murder spin. So I think that there are options for England. I'm not too worried about the batting against spin, and I think the way England play means that they'll still post good scores or competitive scores, even if they do turn out to be Bunsons. But it's what you don't want is a situation where suddenly they need to bowl Dawid Malan because he turns his arm over and bowled a bit of leg spin. I mean, I don't think it will be this bad, but you've seen Bangladesh v New Zealand this week. Teams are getting bowled out for 70 or 60 and 90, and 120 is like an awesome score that is completely unchaseable. If there are games like that, I don't think this England team can bowl their way to victory. But will that be the case? We don't know. I mean, presumably the ICC will be in charge of the pitches like they were for the World Cup in 2019 in England. That they didn't do a great job in England on that occasion, did they? The pitches were flat as anything for 4 years running up to the 2019 World Cup. People were saying 500 is going to be scored by a team at this World Cup. It's going to be the best World Cup for hitting ever. And actually, it was an array of green seamers through most of the tournament. And so who knows? The ICC groundsmen clearly don't know what they're doing. So we could end up with anything. I think. Anything else, Ross? Keep coming.
I think just their bowling strategy in general, where you talked about Mark Wood being in that enforcer role. I think England have been trying to work out how to play or how to bowl in T20s for quite a while now, and still haven't really settled on exactly what their answer is. So the amount of bowlers they have picked does give them a little bit of flexibility. But again, I can't see a game where they're playing Chris Woakes, David Willey, Sam Curran, all those guys together. And I think that they can't play Mark Wood every single game. They just don't. They don't have that.
Probably can. If I get 4 overs out of Wood, I'd have thought. I mean, I do. I think the point before. I mean, Woakes, Curran, David Willey, to probably slightly lesser extent Wood, all sort of operate in the same role, don't they? As that kind of extra pace bowler. I guess you could use Woakes as your power play specialist. There's definitely
Willie bowls in the
up front.
Yeah, Willie typically bowls
is
in there as
Willie
well.
good? Is Willie genuinely good? I don't know. Or is this like a sympathy pick because he didn't get to go to the World Cup in 2019?
Well, this is what I don't. So they've got
He
three
got wickets
left-armers
against Sri Lanka. They were terrible.
Yeah, but they've got three left-handers. I like the fact they've picked Tamal Mills. The guy bowls 90 mile an hour left arm. He's proven that he's a really good player. But do you then also need David Willey? Do you also need Sam Curran? David Willey's hitting's good. I mean, he used to open the batting for Yorkshire in the T20s, so he clearly can do it.
Yeah, I mean, again though, I mean, I think it is a bit. England have got an obsession with making sure their attack is variable so they don't get caught out in a matchup situation. But some of these matchups just don't come up that regularly, and I feel like Tamal Mills is so much better than the other two that if you just want a left armer for left arm and having a left armer's sake, you wouldn't have him. You probably don't. Probably you want Tamal Mills because he's like an awesome death bowler and he replaces Jofra Archer. So you've got Jordan and Mills as your death bowlers, and that's kind of you're comfortable with that if you're an England fan, if you're an England player. I mean, Jordan might have had better years. Jordan might not be quite as good as people say he is, but he's still not awful. He can still do the job. But that leaves the other bit. It's, we know one of the other bowlers will definitely be Adil Rashid. But so where do Willie, Woakes and Curran come into that? Do you play 2 out of 3 of them? Do you try and look for the other overs from Moeen? Well, we haven't talked about Mark Wood, so you'd assume Mark Wood would play. So there we have narrowed it down here, Ross, haven't we? Basically to Woakes, Willie, and Curran all playing for one position. Now, Curran is maybe the best choice there. He's the most dynamic of the three, you'd say. But Woakes looked pretty awesome. He's developed like a new knuckleball that dips savagely. And I know it was just Sri Lanka, but he was like absolutely destroying them with it. So I'd like to see that. It's a little bit confusing. You'd think England could have made that call slightly earlier and picked Parkinson or even Liam Dawson in the actual 15. I think is what I would say.
Yeah, and the only other bit I picked up on Twitter was the representation of the domestic game within some of the squads that are being picked. So in India, in the IPL, they've obviously got, I think it's 6 players in the World Cup team who play for Mumbai Indians, 3 who play for Delhi Capitals. So if you take those 2 there, and just to kind of talk about that for a second, like there's no one from Nottinghamshire in this who are the current T20 champions in England. And then out of the finalists of this year, you got Liam Dawson and James Vince from Hampshire. There's no one from Somerset. Sam Billings plays for Kent, and you've got Tamal Mills and Chris Jordan from Sussex. Jack, what is it? Is the reason here that England don't really let their big players out to play in the Blast, or do England just have this set of players who are just like, no, we only care about this group for now. We're not going to look too far into the domestic game.
It's probably a bit of both, but I also don't think they need to go into the domestic game. I mean, we've talked around this a lot, but it's a good squad. I mean, like there's a lot of franchise experience here. A lot of these people play in the IPL or would do if they hadn't pulled out at the last minute. Mark would. You know what I mean?
Money would have made.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's pretty evident that they've got a good team. I don't think they really need to go to look at, who's performing well for Somerset necessarily. I mean, Hampshire, the 2 Hampshire players, Dawson and Vince, I think are quite substantially worse than the players they'd replace in the actual 15. I mean, Vince is quite questionable as a reserve. He's like a mascot. They take him along. I don't know. I guess for good luck.
You're talking about the 100 captain winner there, mate.
Yeah, but it's still like that. I don't know. We still don't really know how impressive that was. And like, what did James Vince individually do in the 100 that was so impressive?
Yeah, averaged about 30, didn't he? That was
yeah. It's good to see, I think, and we've talked about this for a long time. We haven't mentioned it on this show that Tom Curran didn't make the 15. He's obviously there still as a reserve.
He's on the plane,
which is a bit confusing. But I think they've at least learnt that lesson. I think Tamal Mills was a huge upgrade bowling at the same point in the game as Tom Curran. In comparison when you compare them side by side.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. As you said, like, when we're going through those bowling options, they've got plenty of pace there. I just don't think you need Tom Curran at all. Like, just pick another spinner. Just pick another spinner. That's all you need. Like in that bit, if there is an injury or there's a COVID outbreak, we're going to have David Malan bowling spin, aren't we? So,
well, I mean, it could come to that. Maybe one of the pace bowlers will come in or off a short run. Maybe David Willey's actually a left arm off spinner in his spare time, and he's got a diversity of approach that he can bring to the table. We had some tweets in. Do you want to answer the questions?
Yeah.
So Prash asks, can the UAE pitches survive the IPL and the World Cup without becoming dust bowls? Will the lack of quality spin options in the England side hurt them in the knockout portion of the World Cup? Well, we don't know the second part of that. I think the second part of that relies on what happens with the pitches. If they are dust bowls, England are going to lose, but they might have lost anyway. It's not like we've left Muralitharan on the bench here. Matt Parkinson, we think, is good. He performs well when he's given an opportunity at the level below. He's bowled quite well for England, I think, when he's had a go. He could be there, but nobody in their right mind would have Matt Parkinson in their top 5 spin bowlers in the world, would they? Or top 20 spin bowlers in the world.
We're not bringing a Rashid. Like, we've got Adil Rashid, who's good. Moeen Ali hasn't bowled that much for England, really, in the short format stuff, or in the shortest format.
He's good against left-handers, left-armers, or left-handers. Yeah. But I don't know if you wouldn't want him bowling 4 overs to whoever comes out. You get murdered.
Well, especially if you're playing like the West Indies, where you just like you've got a middle order like Pollard and Andre Russell, kind of just be like, yeah, come on then, bowl to me. Like, no, you'll hit about a Shardul and a Sharjah, wherever it is. So I think on the spin, I'm agreeing with you then. I think it will be interesting to see how these pitches play, but at the same time, like they're not playing on the same pitch. Yeah, they were fine in the IPL.
They were fine in the IPL. They were good the whole way through the tournament. And your wickets point there, I mean, it's pace bowlers do take more wickets, but at no point in the IPL did we really see a situation where they were playing on a complete duff pitch. The pitches for the IPL last year were better than the ones at Chennai this year. That is a fact that you can take to the bank and cash in for fact money. They were just better pitches. If they're like that, then it'll be England are probably thinking, we've got a decent team here. Like we've got a more balanced team than some of the outfits that will rock up with anybody that's ever sort of twisted their wrist with a cricket ball in their hand from the nation. You know what I mean? It's I don't think they're worried there. Kishore asks, there's a load of questions about the conditions as well. He also asks, though, can England win it this time after what happened 5 years ago, Ross? So obviously that's Stokes getting smacked out of the stadium.
Well, I mean, Stokes isn't going to be playing by the looks of things, and it's, I think it's probably actually, as much as it's bad, it's probably a bit of a blessing in disguise for England. Stokes not being there, from my point of view anyway. I think he is not great at T20 cricket. I'm sure quite a lot of our English listeners are going to be like, "What are you talking about? Ben Stokes is Ben Stokes," but I'm just not sure you need him.
I think for T20 cricket, I think that's possible. I mean, it's the circumstances in which he's been left out are obviously far from ideal and quite upsetting. But I think you probably would say that he isn't necessarily one of England's best 11 players. What do we need? Another seam bowler who doesn't bat that well in T20s?
Well, the person he comes in for is Owen Morgan. So it's either Owen Morgan or Ben Stokes. That's the trade-off, and that's the bit, right? I think England will get to the semi-finals. I think just our talent alone gets us to the semi-finals. But I do think it comes into it of how well the pitches play. I'm guessing the format isn't like the IPL. It hasn't got an eliminator on that kind of thing. Like
it's just a straight T20. So
it's just luck, isn't it? It's just luck.
Or straight semi-final. Sorry,
Oman could win it.
What else we got here? We have one from Felix who asks, Livingston and Ali, or just one or the other? What would you do, Ross?
Both are playing for me in my 11.
I think I'd have them both in.
Yeah, I don't have any faith that Dawid Malan can play against spin in the UAE. I think you should be playing Moeen Ali at 3, Livingston as your finisher, or the other way around.
And Nico, who asked a question about Parkinson, a question about the 3-seam bowling all-rounders that we've already discussed, so Curran, Woakes and Willey, and one about England's first choice 11. So do you have a first choice 11 in mind? And that might be a good way to end the show, because we haven't got any more questions.
I've not actually written one down. Well, let's do a combined one.
Right. So, okay. Well, I think
Ross Butler, number 1.
We go Butler. They're going to go raw. Are we doing what they'll do, or what?
That's what we think should be. So I think it's Butler and Bairstow should open.
I would do Butler and Bairstow. Yeah.
I'd go Moeen Ali at 3.
I'd probably go Moeen at 3. Yeah.
Would it be Livingston at 4?
I'd go. The Birmingham Phoenix combo. Livingston at 4. So and then I think it's very difficult to drop your actual captain.
So you probably have
to pick.
I do buy into the whole. I buy into the whole that after your opening batsman in T20 cricket, I think it should be a floating batting lineup. I think it should be flexible, but England don't really do that too often. So
to some extent. I like that. I mean, we've got a good right hand, left hand combination for your top 5 as well, which makes a little bit of a difference. I think makes you a little bit hard, a little bit less one-dimensional. So that's good. We've started well there. 6 is quite a tricky one. Well, who would you have at 6?
So I'm just trying to think here. So this is the reason
because this is what England will do. I think they'll have Roy opening, Bairstow will be batting 5, and Morgan will be batting 6. It'll be something like that. We've basically dropped Jason Roy.
Okay,
controversial, but I think you could have Curran at 6 probably. It's a bit light. It's a bit light there.
He's not going to face that many balls. This is the bit. Unless we get rocketed out, which doesn't really happen too often anymore, fortunately. Like I think having Sam Curran come in at 6 isn't a bad thing. He's demonstrated his ability at CSK. It's probably better having him at 7. But I mean, in some cases, he's opened the batting for CSK, so he's not a mug.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Curran in your top 6 or top 7 is necessarily that bad. I think this is where we're sort of running into a problem with the 15 they've selected is maybe a batter or maybe a spin bowler light, because it's quite difficult so they have to play Jason Roy. I mean, like looking at this, unless you play Sam Billings, which is the other option. They probably have to play Roy, which means Bairstow at 5, Morgan at 6, or vice versa.
Yeah. Okay.
Which means
let's do that.
then you
Sam
can
Curran
do
7.
Yeah, and this is where when we're trying to put we're trying to put our poker hand together here. Well, we've been dealt a deck without an ace, so we can't actually, we've been dealt a deck with no aces, so it's a bit harder to construct the best possible hand. You have to be maybe a little bit more creative or something. We've also dropped down with Milan. I mean, you could play him and then move everyone down one.
Yeah, it just bores me.
But anyway. I don't love either of those options.
Okay.
And so we've got, let's say we picked Roy and let's say we've dropped Milan, and let's say we've got Curran now at 7. So 8, 9, 10, 11. So Adil Rashid, let's just put Adil Rashid and Wood and Tyrone Mills are definitely in. We should leave one more place, and I would give that to Chris Woakes. I don't know about you.
I think I'd agree with that. I think if I just don't think you need another left-hander there, so David Willey doesn't get in the side, because I think he is a lesser player than the others. And out of the rest, like we just don't have another option, right? Like, you're not going to. I don't think they're playing Sam Billings.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, like, we talked about this for ages. I think their chances for winning are still pretty decent if the pitches are relatively neutral, and even if they're slightly spin favourable, they're so much more attacking with the bat than other teams, and actually, to some extent with the ball as well, that I think they are definitely in the top 2 or 3 favourites. Someone asked a question about whether England's group is easier than the other one, and the other group has got Afghanistan. We're not really sure. I mean, if I'm honest, I'm not sure Afghanistan or Taliban Cricket Club should be going to the World Cup at least under that flag. Maybe there's another way around, but the ICC as a sporting body aren't going to do anything about it. But Afghanistan, India, New Zealand, and Pakistan versus Australia, England, South Africa, and West Indies. I don't think there's that much to choose between them. I think England and India are the best 2 in either pool. And then West Indies might be third best, but South Africa actually turned them over in the West Indies. So they're not necessarily terrible. Anyway, that wraps up that. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back with some test match stuff coming up pretty shortly. A reminder, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at The Cricket Pod. Our sponsor is Woodstock Cricket, and we are on Patreon, patreon.com/The Cricket Pod. Like this video, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching.